I have been out to look at our bridges and culverts in town. What we see are that our infrastructure's old. In some cases, it's undersized.
Since you don't really see it, you don't really think about it. And as long as the road is still operational and functional, you don't know what the condition of a culvert that you're driving over might be. If this bridge were to wash out, one half of the community would be cut off from the other half.
The weather plays a huge part in a small town. Takes out roads. There was a flood back in the 50s that divided the town in half.
And the water came across where St. Mary's Church is and flooded into the fields of the Hampden nurseries, which my father owned. All the streams and brooks and everything was flooding.
There's a lot of bridges that have the stamp of, 1950, 1951, 1955. The reason that is because all the bridges were washed out during this large storm.
One of my concerns is, like, usually if they're all built around the same time, then stands to reason that they may start showing decline around the same time.
'20th century infrastructure built for a 21st century world, those two things aren't going to match up. Over the years, the MVP program's goal has been to get every single community in the Commonwealth to identify their local climate change, adaptation, and resilience priorities. Most towns are doing tremendous amounts of work already, and so taking on a long-term permitting and design process, in addition to funding schools, in addition to funding DPW, and in addition to all the things that towns have to do in order to function, it's not uncommon for these long-term projects just to fall off the radar.
The foundation of civilization is public works. So with MVP funding, the town began with continuing the assessment of the bridge and then ultimately finding the funding to do a final design, including bid documents for the replacement of the Main Street Bridge over East Brook.
We designed the bridge per the Mass DOT stream crossing standards. You have to look at the stream bed width upstream and downstream and kind of come up with an average. For that, we determined that the proposed span for this bridge needed to be around 32 feet. The existing bridge has a span length of around 16 feet.
When you have these large storms, all these trees come down, you'll see them dammed up against these bridge structures, and they'll keep damming up, and all of a sudden you'll see the bridge fail, and the reason why the bridge is failing is because there's so much excess pressure on the bridge that it wasn't designed for.
As part of the MVP grant process, they also are encouraging communities to look at long-term solutions. So not only to replace the bridge, but what other things can occur within the community to improve the resiliency at the bridge.
Whenever I see a pipe just sticking straight into a brook, I think, wow, there's an opportunity to improve things.
So all the catch basins are just on the other side of this berm along Main Street to the Laughing Brook. What we're proposing to do is to redirect each one of those sets of catch basins to come into this location from the street itself. Oil runoff, any salt runoff, hopefully can be treated here through plant species along with retention, and then anything left over will be redirected as treated water in a way back to East Brook.
As part of this project, we made a website which was kind of this repository for everything that we were creating for the project. So that was reports, it was maps. Down here is the Green Infrastructure Solutions part of the project. In here, you'll see the designs that were put together specifically for Hampden to work with a new culvert under Main Street.
One of the big problems with green infrastructure, especially in smaller towns, is the maintenance. So we've talked with the Garden Center, we've also talked with Laughing Brook to find a way that we can have the community come here and bring back that old history of it being like a learning center for the community and try to have that being a learning center again. So I think it's a great opportunity for the community to come and see how different parts of green infrastructure are used so they can maybe potentially use smaller options on their own properties.
Why is it the hardest ones to control are the members of town? The government people are always the hardest to get to sit down at the right time. It is 7 o'clock, and unlike our last couple of town meetings, we're not lined up out to the door, so let's get started on time. Quorum being present, this meeting is hereby called to order. I don't know that he's in the room, but the meeting is called to order. But before I go to the next step, I would really like to recognize Herb Foley, the superintendent of this building. He does a fantastic job every year, and anything we ask, he finds a way to get it done. Herb, where are you?
There he is.
Was that good enough, like to lobby for your raise? Is that okay? Could I say anything else? Town of Hampden, Commonwealth of Massachusetts Annual Town Meeting. To either of the constables of the Town of Hampden in said county. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby requested to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Hampden qualified to vote in town affairs to meet at the former Thornton W. Burgess Middle School, 85 Wilbraham Road, Hampden, Massachusetts, on Monday, May 12, 2025, at 7 o'clock in the evening, and then and thereto to act on the following articles. The articles will be covered in detail, and you are further required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Hampden qualified to vote in the election of town officers to meet at the Hampden Townhouse, 625 Main Street, Hampden, Massachusetts, May 19, 2025 AD, at 7 o'clock in the forenoon, and there to give their votes on one ballot and the election of officers of the town in the following offices. Moderator, 1 year. Select Board, 1 year. Town Clerk, 1. Collector of Taxes, 1. Town Treasurer, 1. Board of Assessors, 1. These are all 1, okay. Cemetery Commissioner, 1. Parks and Recreation Commissioner, 1. Hampden Free Public Library, 1. Planning Board, 1. Constable, 3. To choose for the term of 5 years, the following. Planning Board, 1. Hampden Housing Authority, 1. And you are directed to serve this warrant by posting at the attested copy thereof at each of the places designated by the town, hereof not fail, and make due return of warrant with your doings thereon to the town clerk at or before the time meeting aforesaid. Given under our hands this 14th day of April 2025, signed Donald L. Davenport, Chair, John D. Flynn, Member, Craig A. Rivest, Member. The attest is I, Constable for the Town of Hampden, have on this date posted copies of the warrant for the town meeting to be held on May 12, 2025 at 7 p.m. in all the places designated by the Town of Hampden. Signed, Dennis L. Hackett, Constable, Town of Hampden, posted on 4/16/25. The warrant being properly served, the formal reading is waived, and the posted warrant shall be part of the record. I'd like to, before we get to the pledge, I'd like to introduce, actually, let's do that, John. I like the way you're thinking. You can come up here now. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Flag is here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The members on the stage with me tonight are not on the stage proper: Lauren McCormick, Brian Domina, Craig Rivest, Don Davenport, thought I forgot, didn't you? John Flynn, Sheila Slate, Eva Weissman, our town council, Rose Crowley, and we have tonight a guest, an associate attorney with Doherty Wallace, Monique Hoppy. I'm going to leave the advisory committee alone. I'm going to ask that everyone please silence their phone. Also, please be advised this meeting will be on a Zoom format. Participation is limited to those in the room and is not available to those who attend via Zoom. We strongly encourage a free and open discussion with respect to all points of view. Please know, this is a civil meeting. We all are going to run into each other tomorrow, whether it's at Reed's, the Village Mart, the Bagel Nook. We're going to run into somebody somewhere. And let's remember that tonight so that when we see each other tomorrow, we'll be as kind as we were tonight to them tomorrow. All questions must be addressed through the moderator. Please keep all questions and discussion on point. Any question may be moved by a member or the moderator, subject to a vote and/or the moderator's discretion. Please come to the microphone with any questions or statements you wish to make. It is very important that you do this, and the biggest reason is, again, because it is a Zoom format, so folks watching at home will understand what your question is, but it also does very well as this is a recorded meeting, and it is the recorded record for the town meeting, along with that kept by the town clerk. If you do come up, please state your name and address for the record and that we know you're a town resident. Okay, now for the real housekeeping. We are introducing something new tonight. Two things new tonight. In an effort to speed up the meeting while protecting its transparency, we are introducing, for those of you who are looking at the warrant or have seen it online, we are introducing for the very first time tonight what's known as a consent agenda. Consent agendas are used widely throughout the Commonwealth. They're used on articles that typically do not generate any controversy. They are voted on in the affirmative, and they are repetitive, or as some folks would say, rote. So what will happen is I am going to read the first 6 questions. I will tell you now that I'm taking question number 3 out. I'm taking question number 3 out simply because it involves borrowing and a 2/3 vote, even though we see it every single year. It is the question with regard to highway state aid. And again, since it requires a 2/3 vote, it's going to be removed and it'll be dealt with in its normal turn in the first item after the consent agenda. As I read through the consent agenda, this is a very short piece. If you wish for the question to be discussed in full, all you need say is hold. And if 5 folks raise their hands, the question will be pulled from the consent agenda and it will be taken up in its normal turn in the warrant. Does anybody, and this is brand new, so does anybody have any questions about a consent agenda? Okay. At the end of the consent agenda, I will entertain a motion. I expect it'll probably come from my right, your left, moving the question. We will get an opinion from the advisory if they agree, and then we will there will be no discussion because that's the point of the question to begin with, and we will vote as to whether or not you approve the consent agenda. Okay, any more questions before we start? Seeing none. The first item on the consent agenda is the annual town reports, and this is the annual article where we vote to hear the town reports. Article 2, FY 2026 spending limits for revolving funds. This article requests that the voters set the spending limits for our revolving funds. These funds are most often for self-funded departments and the receipts used to pay expenses. Article 3, the moderator at discretion is removing this and it'll be taken up in its normal turn. Article 4, library state aid. This is the annual question whereby we vote to accept funds from the state and they are given to the library trustees to be used at their discretion. Article 5, conservation fund. Again, this article's been with us for about 25 years. maybe longer. This is the article where we typically vote $1,000 to go into the conservation fund for potential use of land acquisition, if any becomes available. The last article is Article 6, assessors funding for mandated state programs. Again, this question we see every year. The state requires the assessors to do certain things in order to assess our property on a triennial basis, and this question votes the money for them to conduct their work. That concludes the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve the consent agenda as read by the moderator.
We've got a motion. Craig has a second. Does the advisory have a recommendation?
The advisory recommends favorable action.
This requires a majority vote. Having heard the agenda, all those in favor of passing the consent agenda? Are there any opposed? It is unanimous. We may make the Celtics game yet. Rest assured, that's not the plan. Okay, so we now go back to Article 3. Article 3 is Chapter 90, State Aid for Highways. We vote this question every year, so the summary would be, this is where we vote to accept state aid if offered to us for highway work, but it also allows the potential for borrowing with the understanding we will receive state reimbursement. You guys got the motion? One of you?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept all monies from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in accordance with Chapter 90, Section 34 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and be allowed to borrow in anticipation of 100% reimbursement.
Do we have a second? We have a motion. We have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is a 2/3 vote. If it's not close to unanimous, I'm going to call for a count. I want to protect our 2/3 vote. You have a question, sir?
Is there a limit on how much we can borrow?
My understanding on this question is the limit on borrowing is only to the number that the state is going to reimburse us. It can't be borrowed for more. It's simply that because over the years, and I have some experience as a selectman, simply that when the monies come in, we don't always know when the money is going to come in, but we know, so we could borrow, but not more than our anticipated receipt. Okay? Seeing none, this is a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimous. And just as a point of reference, we may see this question on the consent agenda next year. It is our plan to continue the consent agenda, but the reason I took it out is it would require the whole agenda to get a 2/3 vote because of the one question. So knowing this is something new for all of us, I wanted to at least give us a chance to get through it. Before we take up Article 7, which is really the budget, I want to check with the advisory committee and see if they have a bit of the State of the Union for us. I should have got you sooner, but I figure we'll get it now.
Well, better late than never. Good afternoon, good evening. My name's Doug Boyd. I've been on the advisory committee for a number of years. This year, as in past years, advisory has met with all of the department heads in the process of preparing the budget, which you see presented in the green sheets tonight. This budget is essentially a level service budget with the exception of a new position being suggested for a part-time facilities manager and 5 additional hours per week for the principal assessor. Other than that, it's essentially a level service. We are recommending a 2.5% COLA for those employees who are not in a collective bargaining agreement. The town currently has a stabilization account that has $1.27 million in it. That's essentially our long-term savings account. We also have what's known as an excess levy capacity of approximately $1.3 million, which is money which the town can spend without bumping up against Proposition 2.5. With that in mind, the total increase in the operating budget, which is presented tonight, is about $1.2 million, which is approximately a 7.3% increase in the operating expenses. Does not necessarily mean that the tax increase will be the same amount, because in the fall we'll do what we typically do, which is make the adjustments that we can with applications of free cash and possibly transfers from the stabilization. That is a summary of where the town is financially and where the numbers are that you're going to be hearing tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the part now where we actually will go through the budget for the coming year. Historically, what I've done here is I've read the totals. That will get, and I take my time. I will read the totals. As I'm going through it, you can look at the actual numbers contained each of the lines. If you have any questions, yell, throw something at me, whatever you feel like you got to do to get my attention, and we'll stop and we'll address any questions that come up. Okay? Okay. Line item 1, town accountant, total town accountant. Hold on one second. Excuse me one sec. It's dark up here. $88,184 requested, $88,184 recommended. Line item 2, advisory, total advisory, $6,345 requested, $6,345 recommended. Line 3, appeals, Board of, total appeals, $9,634 requested, $9,634 recommended. Line 4, assessors, total assessors, $178,457 requested, $178,457 recommended. Line 5, building department, total building department, $144,247 requested, $144,247 recommended. Line 6, county retirement, $926,000, or is that 25? We got to put lights up here, tough. Okay, $926,946 requested. It is also the amount recommended. Insurance, line 7, $1,030,998 requested, $1,030,998 recommended. Line 8, law and claims, $75,000 requested, $75,000 recommended. Line 9, moderator, $100 requested. I didn't actually ask for it. For some reason, they put it there. $100 recommended. Line 10, planning board, total planning board, $42,167 requested, $42,167 recommended. And again, if you have any questions, just give me a yell. Line 11, registrars, Board of, the voters. Total registrars, $8,955 requested, $8,955 recommended. Line 12, selectmen, total selectmen, $190,487 recommended, $190,487 recommended. Line 13, collector, tax collector, total tax collector is $93,810 requested, the same amount, $93,810 is recommended. Line 14, town clerk, $101,644 requested, $101,644 recommended. Line 15, town reports, $4,000 requested, and the same amount, $4,000 is recommended. Line 16, the treasurer, total treasurer, $96,568 requested, $96,568 recommended. Line 17, veterans benefits, $20,000 requested, and $20,000 is recommended. Line 19, town administrator, $145,000 is requested, $145,000 is recommended. Total general government, $3,162,542 requested, $3,162,542 recommended. We're on to general town services. Line item 20, Academy Hall maintenance. $5,500 is requested, and it is also the recommended amount, $5,500. Line 21, cemetery commission. Total cemetery commission, $51,286 requested, $51,286 recommended. Line 22, conservation commission. Total conservation commission, $43,809 requested, and the same $43,809 is recommended. Transfer station, monitoring and testing, total transfer station, $100,000 is both requested and recommended. Line item 24, there's 0 request and no recommendation. Line 26, library, total library, $210,826 requested and $210,826 recommended. Town events, $3,500 requested, $3,500 recommended. Line 29, office equipment, total office equipment, $123,000 requested, $123,000 recommended. Parks and Recreation, line 30, total Parks and Recreation, $159,177 requested, $159,177 is recommended. Line 32, townhouse maintenance, total townhouse maintenance, $182,000 was the request, $152,000 was the recommended amount, not was, is. Ambulance, $340,000 is requested, $340,000 is recommended. Line 35, gasoline, total gasoline, $65,500 requested, $65,500 recommended. Line 36, street lighting, $30,000 is requested, it is also the amount recommended. Line 37, council on aging, total council on aging, $225,987 total requested, $225,987 is the amount recommended. Senior center, line 38, total senior center, $43,250 is requested, $43,250 is recommended. Historical Commission, $400 is requested. It is also the amount recommended. The total town services is $1,584,200. I'm doing, I got it. Wow, if you're going to take a whack at me, at least get me right, will you? No, it's all good. Here we go. We'll get it right. $1,584,235 is requested. The recommended number is $1,554,235. I get it? Got it? I'm so happy you're here. Highway Department. Line 40, superintendent's salary, $109,109 requested, $109,109 recommended. Line 40, department payroll, $317,728 requested, $317,728 recommended. Line 41, the tree warden. The total tree warden, he is requesting $60,931. The amount recommended is the same at $60,931. Public grounds, line 42, requested $4,385, recommended to $4,385. Line 43, highway maintenance, total highway maintenance, $315,672 requested, $315,672 is recommended. Line 44, general highway expense, $18,300 requested, $18,300 recommended. Line 45, snow and ice removal, $125,000 requested, $125,000 recommended. Line 46, contract services, total contracted services, $63,700 requested, $63,700 recommended. Line 47, other highway accounts, $21,000 requested, $21,000 recommended. Line 48, building expense, $16,250 requested, $16,250 recommended. Line 49 is the radio lease agreement, $10,000 requested and the same amount recommended. Total Highway Department, this number is the same on both sides, $1,062,075 requested and $1,062,075 recommended. Any questions so far? I think we got it? Okay. Protection of persons and property, line 50, animal inspection. Total animal inspection, $6,647 requested and recommended. Line 51, emergency management, $6,200 is requested, $6,200 is recommended. Line 51.5, traffic control, $15,000 requested, $15,000 recommended. Line 52, dog officer, total dog officer, $15,490 requested, the same amount is recommended. Line 53, fire department. Flipping over to the next page, total fire department, $481,572 requested, $481,572 is recommended. Line 54, forest fire control, $1,800 requested, $1,800 recommended. Line 56, Board of Health, total Board of Health, $93,498 requested, $93,498 recommended. The Water District, line item 56.5, the total for the Water District is $21,500 requested and $21,500 recommended. Line 57, Police, the total of line 57, $1,693,484 requested, $1,693,484 recommended. Line 58, other police accounts. The total for line 58 is $2,206 requested, and the same $2,206 is recommended. Total police, $1,695,690 requested, $1,695,690 recommended. Line 59, police and fire communications, $30,035 requested, $30,035 recommended. Regional dispatch service, line 59.1, $93,750 requested, $93,750 recommended. Yes, sir. And if you would, I see you're making your way up. Please remember to use your name and address for the record. Thank you so much.
Eric Madison, 359 Summers Road. I noticed the regional dispatch has gone up 50% from last year's figures. I wonder if somebody could explain. That's quite an increase.
The original grant that we received for the regional dispatch was the first 3 years, it was $125,000. The state would pay all 3 years. The fourth year, they would pay 50% of it, and the fifth year, 25%. So the difference between last year and this year is the 25% of the 120.
So what year are we then, next fiscal year, into the agreement?
So we're in year 5 of the agreement now.
Okay.
Next year, we'll have to renegotiate a contract with the Wilbraham Regional Communications Center. But there's a third town that's now joined it, so we should be pretty much around the same. Belchertown is now part of it as well, so they'll be sharing the costs.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay. Mr. Moderator, I did have a question in general government. Would it be appropriate to ask it now?
Sure.
So I guess this is probably best, Mr. Moderator, directed toward the committee to my right. I noticed in the county retirement, $926,000, nearly $1 million. Do we have an unfunded obligation to the retirement? If so, how much is that? And the last part of the question, does any of this $926,000 go toward that unfunded balance?
Well, first off, thanks for the question, because that's one of those items that is here every year and rarely generates any comment. That's an assessment that we receive from the Hampden County Retirement Board. That's the number that we have to pay based upon our payroll. Whether or not it's unfunded, let me just say that there's a surcharge being applied every year to the assessment to make up for underfunding for the past several decades. So that the county retirement is significantly underfunded. And this is an attempt by the legislature to make the participating towns catch up on that funding.
So the answer is yes, we're going toward paying that unfunded obligation.
Right now, we're paying about 35% of our salary is county retirement.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
You're welcome.
That the Hampden County Retirement Board is only funded at 54%. It's the fourth worst in the state. So we have a lot of money to make up there.
You had to do it.
I know that'd bring it back.
So I think where my question generated was a number of years ago, the Commonwealth came out with that we had to, we meaning municipalities, had to fund our obligations going forward.
Right.
And I think they gave, correct me if I'm wrong, but to like 2030 or something like that.
Yeah, we're up to 2038.
2038, okay.
Right.
And I was just, a lot of municipalities are kind of sticking their head in the sand and not doing anything about it, and that's going to come back to bite them. I was a little concerned if we're not, because I didn't see any appropriation separately to help fund that going forward.
Yeah, we are, each year we get the assessment, and I think it
And
has
I
to go up by,
I think you did a good job of answering
it goes
that.
up by at least 8% every year.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so we finished with regional dispatch. Just to recap the line, total protection, $2,461,182 requested, $2,461,182 recommended. Line 69, regional school district, this is our assessment, $8,857,717 requested, $8,857,717 recommended. Line 70, local debt, total local government debt, $684,319 requested, $684,319 recommended. Our total budget requested is $17,812,070. The amount recommended is $7,782. I'm sorry, $7,782,070. Let me be clear on that. The total requested $17,812,070 requested, $17,782,070 recommended. Okay? I see a question.
You know I'd have to ask.
You.
Thad Clavette, 55 Highland Circle. I've been coming to these meetings for several years now. It seemed like this meeting was kind of just like a rubber stamp. There was very little, aside from the last gentleman who asked the question. But did anybody notice the first column? A year ago, we were at 15,800,000. We went up to 16,600,000, and now we're up to 17,800,000. So we're looking at approximately 8.5% increase every single year. Is that right?
I would.
Or yes?
I would. Who wants to take this? Dick is going to. Okay.
My name's Dick Patello. I'm the treasurer. I live on Chapin Road. You got a little bit of apples and oranges. The first column is what was expended, actual expenses, not what was appropriated.
Okay.
The second column was what was appropriated last year, and the third and the fourth columns are the one we're dealing with. If I'm not mistaken, Doug mentioned earlier that from last year, the operating budget went up 7.5%, but last year was only 3.9% only. Oh, and by the way, Don, it could be worse than Hampden County Retirement. Springfield is the worst one at 40%.
Yeah, we do things with an X-Acto knife around here.
It just seems like we're still looking at some pretty heavy increases. Yeah.
So, are there any other questions on the budget? Mr. Schneider, come on up. I'm going to make you get up. I just want to see you do it.
Phil Snyder from Raymond Drive. Just a question. Are we voting on the recommended or the budget?
We're voting on the recommended. I mean, unless somebody chooses to amend any of the numbers. Maybe one point of clarity here. I'm reading you the requested by the departments. The recommendation is what the advisory committee has put out for our consideration. But theoretically, and quite frankly, the purpose of this meeting, to get past the point there, this is not a rubber stamp. If somebody does have a question or wants to amend a number, you can do it, but we are voting on the recommended number. If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the budget as recommended and presented. We have a motion, we have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation, or did I get your motion part out of order?
The advisory has a recommendation of favorable action.
I figured since you did all the work, you weren't going to turn around and say no.
We certainly did.
All right. This budget requires a majority vote. All those in favor of the budget as recommended? Are there any opposed? The budget carries, and I see it as unanimous. It is not unanimous, and I'm not going to point directly. Sorry about that. That's inappropriate of me. There was one dissenting vote. I just want to take a second to say something here. I meant to do it earlier, but I wanted to get us through the consent agenda. But in as much as the question has come up about the budget, and really the purpose of town meeting is something I'd like to read for you. Kind of a moderator's point of privilege here. The current practice of local participatory democracy, we maintain a tradition of self-governance which has been practiced for over 400 years. By gathering together today, we honor and embrace the town meetings of 250 years ago. They were local democracies that by their nature taught Americans the virtues and responsibilities of self-government. It was through this conduct of town meetings that the colonial American public embraced the inalienable right of self-governance and self-determination, independent of the British Empire. The voices raised actions, took actions, created financial support, and improved the lives and liberties pledged to the town meeting of the Commonwealth, and they are worthy of our heritage. I think it's an important point that the question that was asked about the budget, this be the time we make it. This is the government that is closest to all of us. We are the last bastion in the country where we decide our own fate here every year. So all I will say simply here, and then we'll move on, is if we agree on nothing else, let's please all pledge together to not let this form of government die. And thank you for raising the question about the budget. Okay, I'm off my soapbox and moving on. Article 8 is the Enterprise Fund. This is where we vote to approve the transfer station budget using a combination of its own receipts and funds provided through the tax levy. You doing this, John? Come on up.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate the following amounts for the transfer station. $38,000 for salaries, $80,000 for trash hauling and material recovery, $1,400 for miscellaneous expenses, and that $104,400 be raised from the Transfer Station Enterprise Fund and $15,000 from the tax levy.
We have a motion, we have a second. Does the advisory have a recommendation?
The advisory recommends favorable action.
Any discussion or questions?
Yes.
I got you. Okay. I see none, but John wants a brief. Go ahead.
So we're all familiar with what the Enterprise Fund is. Basically, it takes care of the bags, the people who work up at the transfer station. I just want to say that there's been one person that has been the face of that operation for a number of years, and we all know Jane Bedinkowitz. And this year, Jane retired, a well-deserved retirement, and I don't think that we can thank her enough for everything that she's done. I'm sorry she's not here tonight. We had a set of golf clubs for her that Rick remembers we gave him, I think, golf clubs when he retired as selectman. but I think we owe Jane a vote of thanks for everything she's done. I'd also like to welcome Lori Dutton, who has taken over Jane's job. We have, if you know, a pretty big change in the town hall, the forward-facing offices. In the last 3 years, we changed the town administrator, the administrative assistant to the select board, and the health board administrative assistant. And I hope you all have noticed that the services you get keep going the way you expect them, because we have great people in their jobs, and we thank them every day for what they do.
Well said, and congratulations to Jane. But that said, we have the housekeeping item. We have motion second, recommendation. Discussion seems to be absent. This is a majority vote. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? I will declare this one unanimous. Article 9, funding for Hampden's 150th anniversary.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we take no action on this article.
The motion has been made and seconded to take no action on the article at this time. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory supports no action.
Are there any questions? A motion for no action requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? I think we're going to go unanimous here as well. Article 10, School Resource Officer. This is where we pay our share of the cost of the school resource officer at the high school. It should be noted that this is paid based on an invoice we receive for prior year's service. It is not a prior year bill because we know it exists. And this is the agreement for the funding structure.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $12,629 to fund the school resource officer for fiscal year 2025 at Minnechaug Regional High School.
The motion has been made. It has been seconded. Advisory?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Are there any questions before the vote? This requires majority. All those in favor? Any opposed? I would say it's unanimous as well. Article 11. Now, this is prior year bills, and this typically comes up when we have a bill that's unexpected and presented for payment, or it's discovered that needing to be paid.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to take no action on this article.
Motion is made. I think I got a second. A little slow over there. Made and seconded. Wow. Motion made and seconded. Advisory.
Advisory recommends no action.
And this requires a majority vote for no action. All those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. We are on Article 12. This is the local option for additional veterans exemption clause 22J. This article will allow the town to exempt a portion of qualifying veterans' property tax. So we have, you're going to make the motion, Heath? Okay.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22J of the Massachusetts General Law to enable the town to increase certain statutory exemptions for amounts for veterans, and also to vote 100% increase.
Hold on one sec. Heath, hold on one sec.
Okay.
I get it. Can we turn that up a little bit for him, or is it on? Okay, if you get a little closer, maybe.
Yep. I move that the town vote to accept Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 22J of the Massachusetts General Laws to enable the town to increase certain statutory exemptions amounts for veterans, and to also vote 100% increase on those statutory amounts to become effective fiscal year 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I see 2 seconds. Advisory, recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Is there any, this is a majority vote, but before we take the vote, does anybody have any questions on the article? Seeing none. Again, this is a majority. Oh, wait. You're okay? Oh, you were jumping the gun. I like it. You really want to get out of here. All right, let's try it again. We're all good. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? This is unanimous. Heath, you're done. That was easy. Nailed it. The next three articles deal with the potential to relocate the town offices to this facility. The selectmen have a few words they'd like to say, and then we'll tackle the three questions.
We're going to do each separately, right?
You want to do them separate? You can do whatever you want. I didn't know if you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I will say. I
Yeah,
always
then
have.
we're going to take them separate, yes.
I always have something to say. It's not like at home where you don't get to say anything.
Listen, don't overdo it because you get beat up at home.
Okay. All right, where was I? Okay, the next three articles are about moving the town offices to the Thornton Burgess School. The first article is basically back in 1966 when the eminent domain taking of the land, the purpose of the land was for school purposes only. And we need to change that to general municipal purposes so we can use the building for something other than a school. As you know, the school was closed in 2017, and the Hampden-Wilbraham Regional School District advised the state at that point that it wouldn't be used as a school any longer, and that was confirmed again in 2024. And we've negotiated an into the lease here, so now we own the building, and we can use it if this is passed. We can use it for municipal purposes. We'd like to move the town hall, the townhouse offices here, because they're currently very short on room. No storage. As you know, that's barely accessible to those of us who have those persons who are mobility challenged. And it would take about $7 or $8 million in renovations and repairs for the town hall. And even then, the consultant has said it wouldn't still serve the purposes that we need. If we move to the old Thornton Burgess School, it'll give the library larger space, expanded programs. It'll give the Parks and Recreation ability standard programs. The Veteran Service officer will have a private office for the first time, and it'll give us the offices that we need for expansion in the future. We're being fiscally prudent, but not space prudent, because as you know, classrooms are pretty big, but at least it will give us, if we have to expand later on, or things we can divide it. So we got three motions. One is to change the purpose of the land so that we can use it as a municipal building. The second one is the cost for the moving and move the library and all the town offices over here. And the third one is to do some basic renovations to get the up to running as we need it. So the first motion will be, I move the town vote to change effective July 1st, 2025, the use of the parcel of land owned by the town of Hampden, located at 85 Wilbraham Road, Hampden, Massachusetts, partial ID number 170480000 for, quote, school purposes to any lawful municipal purpose, subject to the supervision and control of the select board. I just want to add that when the senior center was built, that was a portion of the land too, and we had to do the same motion to give that portion of the land to use for the senior center.
Okay, so we've got a motion. I'm sure I heard a second. We did get a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation on this?
The advisory recommends favorable action.
The advisory committee recommends favorable action. Now, this is a change in use. This will require a 2/3 vote. Before we take the vote, are there any questions on the article? I see someone coming up now. I see one on deck, and he's much faster than you, Mary Ellen, so he goes first.
Chad Boucher,
we're not going to
Chapin
roller
Road.
derby this. Go ahead.
Sorry, Chad Boucher, Chapin Road. What's going to happen to the current town hall?
What? That's to be determined. To be honest, we don't know. It's a historic building. It's a building we all love. I've lived in town 52 years, and my kids and I've spent many hours there at the library and things like that. But it no longer serves the purpose that we have. So our thought would be that we convene a blue ribbon committee of people in town to look at it. We have very talented people in town that I think would serve well. And we've had all kinds of ideas, anything from a from a historical, a museum, a children's museum. There's been some talk about a business incubator. There's been some talk about housing at some point. So we don't know. The answer is we don't know, and it's something that the town will decide, because like the moderator said earlier, it's the town meeting that decides everything. So, but we need to do this for the future, for the town.
Don't go. Mary Ellen's coming up.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Hi, Mary.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Former select board member.
Mary Ellen Glover, Northview Terrace. I'm concerned that this proposal and the proposal about the use of the town hall really is an example of the town not being true to its word. We gave its word when we went for eminent domain to take that property. Now we're going to change it. When the town hall was given to us, it was given to us for the purpose of a school. We are now going to change that because it no longer is a school, it's offices, and then it's no longer offices, it's condos, or who the heck knows what it is. And I think that when we give these words, it should be taken a little more seriously and changed only in rare instances, okay? So that's my first issue. You want my second issue first?
Go ahead.
My second issue is the cost. I think...
Let's take the cost one separately.
Okay,
Let's
do that one
take a motion
first.
at a time, please.
Okay.
In your response to your first question, the building was used for 50 years for a school. So I think we've served that purpose well. And
Then
the
we should
time
have
is...
said 50 years, but we didn't.
Well,
Go
from
ahead.
1967 to 2017, we served as a school. So I think we've kept faith with the town at the time. The demographics have changed. I would urge people to have more children and we can keep the schools open. but
But you have
but
nothing
I'm
to do with that.
I'm long past having control over any of that. So I believe we've kept faith, and now we have to keep faith with the future. And the future is to have a working environment where our town employees, the people who come there, are safe, and it's in a good environment, and we have expansion for the future. We can make a community center out of it. We can have the library here. We can have Parks and Rec can expand. So that's where we are. Things change.
They do change, but your word is your word. I'm also concerned about the cost. I think it's a pretty pricey endeavor.
I don't want to shut you down, but let's take that, because the remaining two articles deal with the cost of the move and the cost of any updates. So let's take the cost at that time, because what's important here, so we don't lose sight of, this question is a 2/3 vote, but it is only to change the use of the property. It doesn't allow this to happen. It simply sets the stage that if it does happen. So the financial part of it we'll deal with, Marilyn, but let's do it during those questions.
Okay, then let me go to the education. I'm also concerned about the educational use. We used to have our kids in school for K through 8, and they would go to the region for high school. It slowly evolved that it would also include the middle school over in Wilbraham, okay? If we lose Thornton Burgess, we will never be able to return those students to Hampden. For those of us who have looked into the history of Hampden, Hampden used to be part of Wilbraham, separated from Wilbraham so we could have say over our own destiny. We have lost that say over our own destiny if we no longer can have kids in their town, because we will have all the middle school and all the high school kids going over to Wilbraham. Additionally, Wilbraham Middle School is in such a condition that it will eventually need to be replaced. And it's talked about periodically over in Wilbraham at their town meetings and so forth. If it has to be replaced and we have our students over there, we will pay 20 to 25% of that replacement cost, which then will make our taxes go up and cause us more money. You have something to say?
No.
Okay.
Make our taxes go
And
up
make our
again.
taxes go up. Okay, that's it for that.
Okay, so, again, and I want to be very careful not to discount Mary Ellen's comments, but the financial ones are separate from this question. This is a question to change the use, i.e. the zone of the property requires a 2/3 vote. Are there any more questions on the change of the use of the property?
Well, I just would have concerns about your ruling in that if you change the use, you also change the finance.
Well, what I'm going to, Marilyn, is you said you had questions and concerns about the cost. So I'd rather take the questions of the cost at that time. If this gets voted down, then theoretically it does make the next two questions moot, but I will allow that because we have to change the use first.
All right, so I'll sit down now, you'll take the vote, and we'll go from there, right?
There's people lined up behind you, so we're not done yet. So.
Nancy Netherwood, Colony Drive.
Nancy, a little closer to the microphone so it picks you up. Sorry. If you break it, they make you pay for it.
Nancy Netherwood, Colony Drive. Has there been any research with other towns that have closed schools for similar circumstances that we've had, and then had to reopen schools, and at that point the school is no longer available, so we would be building a new school?
Do you want to take that?
I guess the short answer is no. But the long answer is that in order to bring it, there was a study done in 2015 of this building and the Wilbraham Middle School to see which building would be appropriate for all the students to be in. And this building, the cost to renovate this building for a student population was close to $15 million. So that the joint decision was made to close this school, middle school. But and to be honest with you, I haven't done anything. I know that other towns have changed their schools to town halls, but like Granby has done that. So.
Well, I know Wilbraham closed a school and then had to reopen it as well. Now, we are a town that the majority, I believe, and I could be mistaken on this, is of senior citizens. So looking into the future, getting rid of a school, as opposed to looking at other options for town hall, other areas in the town, I think that would be a prudent thing to do.
Well, we looked at building a new town hall, and it's in the $30 million range. This is the most cost-effective for now, for the near future. That's all I can, that's where we are.
I mean, have we, the other thing is, have we thought about renting out the Thornton Burgess to another school? I know the CTEC, which is the Career Technical Education Center, is looking for more space. I mean, we could save money that way, or in terms of our other options in terms of, I don't know about renovating the town hall. I'm certainly not an architect, but purchasing like a home that's across the street from the town hall, and possibly using the first floor for town offices, using the upstairs for storage. I mean, I haven't heard any other options. I mean, this is just put out there to us.
All right, so let me kind of step in here a little bit, because the one thing that we can't get into is the town meeting trying to engineer the future, buy this property, do that property, move this. Now, that said, those are your arguments toward whether or not we should vote for this change or not vote for it. But I want to be careful, because we could get very far afield with a lot of folks coming up saying, hey, have you thought about purchasing this piece of property? Have you thought about that? But your questions are germane in that plans for the future, and I think that they should be noted, and I would like to think everybody got the gist of it. But I don't want to go down that path any further. We're kind of being a rabbit hole of, let's try this, let's try that. Okay, okay? Mm-hmm. Does that, now are you set? Any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank
you. Well done.
I just want to make the point that we own the building. So whether we use it or don't use it, we own it. We have to pay for it. We have to pay the capital costs. We have to pay for any improvements. Yeah.
I'm going to see two more. You are first.
Hi, John Quackenbush from Greenleaf Drive. My question is on this use change. Would this preclude this building from ever becoming a school again, or is it just add the use as municipal offices if we pass this motion?
My understanding of the question is it does change the use to municipal. I don't know, that would be a planning board type question, whether or not school and municipal are the same thing, but it would definitely change the use to make it. As far as reverting to another use after, my sense is that would probably require another vote.
Okay.
But
thank you.
You have something you want to add?
Town council has informed us that it could be changed back. We just vote back to make it a school and have the expenses, you know.
Okay, thank you.
That was my answer to you. It would probably take another vote.
Dick Patello from Chapin Road. I'm surprised that a school use is not any legal municipal use. So I'd be surprised if it had required another vote. I appreciate the people who still want to keep this thing as a school. I'm sorry, you lost that in 2017. This building no longer is qualified to be a school. As Don said, it'd be how many $1 million to bring this back to being a school again? 10 or 15 $million, because we've lost that certification. Everything would have to come up to code. To make this building into a school would be very expensive. To keep the town offices and the town hall, we're talking $7 million in renovations. To build a new town hall, we're talking $25, $30 million. To move over the town hall functions over here, we're talking a couple of $100,000 or $175,000, something like that. It's the only thing that makes financial sense and not sentimental sense. I'm very attached to the town hall. I mean, my mother was good friends with Miss Sessions and, watched them build the plans when she donated it. And by the way, it wasn't just a school. It was a school and a town hall and a townhouse. It even had showers for the farmers to be able to use because we didn't have power everywhere back then. I went to 7th grade in that building. I like it. I work in that building every day right now, but it does not suit our purposes. And I'm as cheap as anybody, probably more than most people in here, but I really think moving the buildings over here is the only financially reasonable thing to do. Even if we spend $7 million fixing that building over there, it still doesn't have enough space. We'd probably end up having to build a freestanding library to have enough square footage to do the job for another 10 or 15 years. So the use thing, I think it's a no-brainer to vote for the change of use. And the money, compared to any other option, is such short money, it seems logical to me.
Okay. I see two more. Let's just be careful that we don't get redundant and that we be prepared to move on the vote.
Yeah,
Please.
Dan Blanchard, 67 South Munson Road, and Parks and Rec Director for Hampden. I'm going to take a little different spin and say that I dislike the town hall. Working there is like almost unsafe. It's really terrible there. We've outgrown that many years ago. We need the space. There may be more here, but it allows us to grow. From a Parks and Rec Director standpoint, moving over here, the town offices over here, provides a fantastic opportunity for us to increase programming. If I have access to classrooms, we can expand our offerings for all ages, all people, all residents in town exponentially. We don't have that space right now. I'm constantly fighting to use the auditorium or the Melville room. I mean, those are pretty much the only spaces that we have for programming outside of sports. Moving over here, I mean, the ADA compliance issue over at the town hall can't be understated. This building is much more ADA compliant. What else can I say?
No more. You've said it. You've said it.
All right. Well, that's it. So it just from a Parks and Rec standpoint, it's a fantastic opportunity for us. We can have all our sports program here. It would be a hub for the Parks and Rec. We're constantly going back and forth between facilities right now because this is where our programs run. So.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Richard Muse, Greenleaf Drive. I'll be brief. From a fiscal aspect, this building is it's an asset we own, but it's grossly underutilized right now. And I think Mr. Davenport's points about bringing City Hall in here, we'd have more people coming in here. It would be better utilized. Also, for those that are worried about building another school, I just Googled it. Massachusetts will give us a lot more money to build a new building than it will to remodel an old building. I'm done.
All right. Quick and to the point. Thank you. Mary Ellen, I know that you're going to get some time because I know we talked financial components got introduced here. I didn't forget you, promise.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, you're up.
Ethan at 542 Glendale. Just had a quick question. What the council's reasoning was to move the library there to here as well? And why not consider using the old building as a expanded library?
Again, there's a library in here now, and we want to keep all the town offices together. And this also would give the library more space for their programming. If we left the library there, we still have to do considerable renovations to, for handicap accessibility and that type of thing.
Gotcha.
I feel like we're not there, Mary Ellen. If it's redundant, let's not do it. But if it's going to be something new, we'll talk about it.
I just want to make one statement, which is I think that our primary responsibility should be to give kids an outstanding education. And I don't feel they're getting it now. And I feel coming back to Hampden would give them that. That is a long-term solution, okay? But if you use that building for something else, we can never do that.
Fair enough. Okay. Looks like we've covered as much of the bases as we can here. This is a use change only, and I'm not trying to color it any other way. It does open up the door for the move, but this is to change the use of the zone or the property. It requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The moderator declares the 2/3. The article passes. Article 14. Now, this is financial. This is the cost of the moving costs for administrative offices and library. This is the cost of moving the furniture and fixtures from the current town hall location to here.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $80,000 to pay for the moving of the town's administrative offices and the library, currently located in the Hampden Townhouse at 625 Main Street, Hampden, to the former Thornton W. Burgess Middle School located at 85 Wilbraham Road, Hampden, Mass.
The motion has been made and the motion has been seconded. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Okay. Any discussion? Any questions? I see a few hands coming up. Why don't, you know what, just start to come. If there's 3 or 4, whatever it is, please come to the microphone. Don't run each other over, and we'll get it sorted out. Yes, sir.
My name's Joe Green, Tall Pines Road. I have a question. There's an old expression, no horse is so old it can't be beaten again. But I'll ask my question anyhow.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My question is this. Are we voting tonight on the true appropriation, or are we voting tonight on enabling legislation for a matter that will be put on a ballot down the road?
This is the appropriation to fund the move.
Thank you. Okay. Is that true for all the questions on the ballot, on the warrants tonight, or just this one particular?
All but one, because these questions are fair question. These questions have been raised and appropriate today, to date, to this moment. They are majority vote because they are raised and appropriate. The fire department question will involve bonding and bond counsel. That, therefore, will require a 2/3 vote tonight, and it will go to the ballot as well. There is a check and balance. But all the questions aside from that are funding using the vote tonight will fund the article.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lisa Sternberg, 15 Mountain View Drive. My question is that the moving costs are there, but what about the setting up of the books in the library? It's very, time.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Fair,
I'm wondering if it includes that.
So you're asking, if I got your question right, what you're asking is, does the total amount being requested include the setup of the library in its new space?
Correct.
Got it? Yes. Okay. So that question's answered by Brian, the town administrator, town manager, and it's based on the research he did. Yep. So, any other questions? Yes, sir. Nope, you're good? All right. This is a raise and appropriate. It requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion carries. It was not unanimous. Thank you. Article 15, former Thornton W. Burgess Middle School repairs and renovation. So this is the cost to actually do the physical changes, upgrades needed to make the building usable for the plan that's been brought out.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to raise and appropriate $75,000 to pay for the repairs and renovations to the former Thornton W. Burgess Middle School located at 85 Wilbraham Road, Hampden, Massachusetts.
The motion has been made. The motion has been seconded. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
The advisory recommends favorable action.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, it's raised and appropriate. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion carries. Article 16. These are capital projects and expenditures. The first one under this heading, Article 16, is a lawnmower for the Highway Department. Summary is pretty straightforward. The Highway Department wishes to buy a lawnmower. Do we have a motion? You know, you wanted to talk because you get beat down at home, your turn comes. I got it right here if you need it. You're doing great. Hey.
Getting close to my bedtime here. Okay, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 to purchase a new lawnmower for maintaining town-owned properties by the Highway Department.
The motion has been made and seconded for the purchase of the lawnmower. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Again, raise and appropriate requires a majority vote. No questions? All those in, oh, is there a question back there? You got to come up, Robin. I know some people hate to do it, but figure if you torture you won't do it and we can go home. No, I'm kidding. Please come up.
Robin, Warner Scannick Road. I just have a question. When they, when each department gets their budget together, aren't items like this included in their budget, which we already passed? I mean, and then they, they have their budget, and then they come in and they ask for a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then our taxes keep going up.
So when it comes to items like this, whether it's, for example, whether it's a dump truck, a lawnmower, these are all outside of the normal operating budget. For example, and I offer it to you this way, you wouldn't want the Highway Department to put $20,000 into their budget every year, assuming they might want to buy a lawnmower and have that money hanging out for some other use. So this is where we get to vote as to how we feel about the purchase of the lawnmower. So that, because they're unique and one of a kind, is why they're treated separately.
Oh, well, I would just kind of disagree, because if they need a lawnmower, it should be included in the budget, and then we just pass it once and it goes into the budget. Just like when we have a new cruiser, the police department.
Yeah.
When we need a cruiser, we put it in the budget and they get one.
The only argument I would make against that is there would then need to be a line item inside their budget, funded or not funded every year. Not saying your question's completely out of line or it couldn't be considered, but this is historically how the town has handled one-time, or a lawnmower is not a one-time purchase, but it's a one-time every few years purchase. Yeah. That's why they do it this way.
They do it outside.
Okay. All right. So the motion has been made, seconded. We have an opinion from the advisory of favorable action. This is a raise and appropriate. It requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? The motion carries. It is not unanimous. Article 17, another lawnmower. This is a lawnmower for the Parks and Recreation Department. And again, this is monies for a lawnmower purchase. This is a raise and appropriate question.
Moderator, my name is Terry Ford. I'm one of the Park and Rec Commissioners. I live on Summers Road. And I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 to purchase a new lawnmower for playing field maintenance by the Park and Rec Department.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
The motion has been made and seconded. This is a purchase for a lawnmower for Parks and Rec for maintenance of their grounds. Does anybody have any questions? I see one. If you got a Fitbit on, you're counting your steps. This is great.
Why are we having 2 lawnmowers? My son used to work summers for the town. He worked for the highway department, and he mowed Thornton Burgess, as well as all the schools.
I remember those days, so I'm going to let one of these designated folks answer the question.
Dan Blanchard, Parks and Rec Director. Regardless of the vote tonight, this school was coming back to the town, and the property needs to be maintained. I know that Highway Department has a mower with about 4,500 hours on it, which is past the useful life of the mower. Parks and Rec, we do have a mower that's at Memorial Park. It is at about 2,500 hours, so it's at half of its useful life. We're trying to be proactive here and extend the life of both mowers so that we are not putting all of the hours on one mower. So when you have a two-car family, you try not to buy them both in the same year, right? You try to stagger them in order to put those, to defray the cost so you don't have one big hit tax-wise. Parks and Rec will be mowing about 6 more acres than they had been in the past. So that's the reason that we're coming for the mower.
So as a point of clarity, Parks and Rec will take over the maintenance and lawn cutting of this facility. Just want to make sure everybody's clear as to what
that agreement needs to be made by the selectmen, but what I'd like to say is that the agreement that we have with the town is that the Parks and Rec mows the sports fields, and that the town mows everything outside of the sports fields. I think we have about 2.5 acres at Memorial Park, so this is more than doubling the amount that we need to mow.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure everybody was clear on that. That's all. Okay. Okay. Question answered. Are you set?
No.
Wait, come up to the microphone because I want to make sure everyone.
Doesn't Green Meadows have fields as well?
Yes, Green Meadows has fields. This building was being mowed by the school district because it was a school building. Green Meadows is still a school district building, so they will be taking care of mowing Green Meadows fields.
The town.
The school district.
Okay, because
HWRSD.
but the town used to mow both schools.
Right. So hold on a sec. No, it's okay. Hold on, because I remember those days. I was on the Board of Selectmen. What they're saying is over time that has changed. The school district maintains the lawn cutting of the buildings still in the district, of which Green Meadows is one. So the school department will continue the cutting of the lawn there. Here, that in that it's no longer used as a school, they will discontinue that. So there'll be some some split up of the lawn cutting. And if I am understanding what you're saying correctly, I just want to make sure everybody understands it and hears it, that you're looking to extend the life of both your mowers because you're going to pick up more fields between the Park and Rec and here.
Correct, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood it.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we had not been mowing these fields here at TWB. They were being mowed by the school district.
Okay. You may.
Thank you. The fields at TWB are exclusively used by our soccer program. It's the only fields in Hampden that can really accommodate the soccer program. The fields at Memorial Park tend to be too small, and they're pretty much exclusively used by our baseball programs. As far as Green Meadows goes, we almost never conduct a program outside of Green Meadows.
Okay. You may not agree with what they're telling you, but this is your opportunity to vote yes or no. So do you have something new you want to add to this?
No, I'd like to know what the town's mowing then. I mean, I know they mow the cemeteries. I know they mow Green Meadows. So what else do they mow?
I think we're getting a little far afield. This is a yes or no question. If you don't think that the Park and Rec should have the mower, we can vote no. But to lay out all the lawns that are cut and who cuts them would be outside of the bounds of the question and would take far too long. I see another yes, sir.
Jerry Feldhut from North Munson. What are we doing with the old lawnmowers?
My understanding of this. Hold on. My understanding is there's not going to be a disposed mower here. It's going to be an addition to extend the life of the current mowers.
So we're going to have 4.
Park and Rec is going to have 2, and I don't know what the town has, and I'm not going to get into that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I think we've about covered it. Again, this is a raise and appropriate, and it requires a majority vote to pass. All those in favor of passing for the lawnmower, please raise your hands. Are there any opposed? The motion carries. It is not unanimous. Article 18 is senior center repairs and renovations. This would be the cost to do current repairs and necessary upgrades to the senior center. Do we have someone to make the motion?
Mr. Moderator, Gary Wayner, 53 Mill Road. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $140,000 to replace and/or repair the roof, bathrooms, and septic system at the senior center located at 104 Allen Street, Hampden, Mass.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a second. The advisory committee have a recommendation.
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Okay. Now, Gary, would you like to say something about this?
If I can,
Yeah.
thank you. 6 months ago, we were here at town meeting with the senior center renovation and expansion. Since those 6 months have passed, the Hampden Senior Center Building Committee has continued to meet and continued to put together a priority list of needed maintenance for that facility. As we mentioned at town meeting, that the building, 25 years old, has many needs for continuing maintenance. The Senior Center Building Committee focused on 4 priorities to upgrade the center. The 4 priorities were replacement of the roof, replacement of the windows, not the stained glass, but just the regular windows, upgrade the bathrooms, and also to do minor maintenance on the septic system that the Title V inspection report recommended. With the help of the staff, we solicited estimates from roofers, plumbers, septic system installation specialists, and window replacement specialists. And we put together a warrant article for $230,000 for those 4 items. Following submittal of that number to the select board, we had a meeting with the selectmen. And at that meeting with the town administrator also, it was very apparent, as Mr. Patello has pointed out, that this is an extremely tight budget year. So the Senior Center Building Committee took a vote and reduced the amount of money that we are requesting tonight, recognizing how tight the budget is. We removed the window replacement. But make no mistake, in subsequent town meetings, we will be back because we need new windows. They leak. They're terrible. In the meantime, it gives us time to look for potential grant money for the windows, grant money for the HVAC system, grant money for the lighting system, all which need upgrades. But tonight, what we're asking for from the town is $140,000 to replace the roof, to upgrade the bathrooms, and to do minor work on the septic system. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is a majority vote as it's raise and appropriate. Oh, I see a question. Mary Ellen, come on up. You got it. Well done.
I would just like to compliment the Senior Center staff and the study committee for listening to what the town said before and for coming back with revised list and a plan for going forward. I think that takes a lot of maturity, and I'm pleased that they listened to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions. Again, this is a majority vote as it's raised and appropriate. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? It looks to me as the vote is unanimous. It passes. Article 19 is Fire Station Repairs, Renovation, and Expansion. The summary here is to expand and update our current fire station. This article is, the fire department has a presentation. We'll hear the presentation before the motion. I just want to cover a couple of things very quickly. This article is capital in nature. It involves borrowing. It involves the potential for bonding. This is a two-part vote. First and foremost, it must clear this meeting by a two-thirds vote. Then it will be on the ballot next week, and it must pass the ballot. The legislature, in its infinite wisdom, and sometimes they do get it right, when they wrote this law, wrote this opportunity for us to fund these projects, they put into it a check and balance system. And that check and balance is the vote tonight and the ballot. It must clear both. Fire department, you ready? Oh, hold.
If it passes this evening, it'll be on the special election ballot June 23rd when we elect a new selectman.
Okay, all right. Does everybody understand that? It's, when I read the warrant, I read a few things, and my mistake, because I noticed it wasn't on the warrant I read for the meeting tonight. Okay, so while the vote will be on a different day, June 23rd?
June 23rd.
To coincide with the special election of a new selectman, the vote will be on the 23rd. While the date is different, it does not change the mechanics. It still means that it has to pass tonight by two-thirds, and then it must pass the ballot on the 23rd of June. Okay, fire department, you guys ready to go? Come on up. It's fine, sure.
Yep. All right. Hello, everybody. Mark Barba, Summers Road, Hampden. Chairman of the building committee that was put together for the fire department expansion and renovation. Couple things before I get into the presentation. I wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wait, oh, I thought you were, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were coming to make the motion, and I kind of, sorry. Let's have the motion first. Thanks. I'm still willing to trade with you. You can come back up here. You do a great job. No, this is why you and the judge are here. Somebody has to keep me in line. So you started to make the motion, then you went back, so fire away. Let's have the motion.
Edward Poole and Glendale Road. Ms. Moderator, I move that the town appropriate to borrow $8,300,000 to repair, renovate, and expand the town's fire station located at 19 North Road, including all costs incidental or related thereto, and authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the select board, to issue any bonds or notes that may be necessary for purpose, provided, however, that this debt appropriation and debt authorization to be contingent upon passage of Proposition 2.5 debt exclusion question, allowing the town to raise the money needed to repay the borrowing outside the limits established by Proposition 2.5, Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Motion, we have a second. Motion has a second. Now you see why there has to be a two-part vote. It's so complicated. So you are now ready to do your presentation. Motion, second, advisory.
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Okay. Now you can go.
All right, thanks. I'm still Mark Barba, Summers Road, Hampden. I wanted to throw a few things out to let people know a quick summary on the fire department and some facts that before we get into the presentation. Currently, we have one station in town. That's our station at 19 North Road. We have 3 full-time firefighters that protect our town from Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. After that, we rely 100% on folks like myself that get a call and that respond to the station for all calls after that. So we're manned Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. We currently have about 30 members total on our roster. We train every Monday night at our station at 19 North Road, and we have 8 frontline apparatus. So I'm laying some of the stuff out here because you'll see it comes up in the presentation. When there's questions, at least you have sort of an idea of a quick summary of the department. 7 years ago, we brought forward to the town a proposal to do a small expansion in the back of the station because we need a new tanker. That was 2018. At that point, it was the feeling of the select board that before any more money got put into the current station, that they wanted to do a study to get an idea of A, the conditions of the station, and then also say, okay, you know, what might be some expansion, remodeling, whatever options that are out there. So that was 2018, a couple years kind of kicked down the road. In 2020, the town did hire a company called Mitchell Associates. What this company did is they came in and they did a complete conditions assessment of the building, and they also did present a few options in there for expansion / remodeling options. The study was extensive. It was 200 and some odd pages. Brought all that information back to the town. At that point, the numbers they came back with in 2020 were around $6 to $13 million. And 13 was a completely brand new station on land to be determined. Remember, that's 2020 dollars. So that was in 2020. A couple of years go by again, no action. In 2024, the town said, okay, let's get a second opinion. We hired a company the town hired Tecton Architects. What Tecton did is they came in for two parts. They came in to get feelings from the community on what they were feelings would be at the fire station for expansion, community input, and then they also did provide to us 3 different proposals for renovation. At that time, those ranged from like $6 to $10 million. Again, renovation, $6 to $10 million. That was 2023. Move forward to last year, 2024. We finally got together in that fire department building committee. And that building committee consisted of, we'll go over the members in a second, but we were charged with, at that point, to come up with a project that would be staying at 19 North Road, to utilize our current building to the best capacity, and then also do a remodel expansion at 19 North Road. So the town did hire a firm, Sakoshi & Associates. We have a couple of their members here tonight, the architectural firm that worked with us, with a committee closely over the past 8-9 months, and we came up with what we're going to present tonight for the project. That's sort of a real quick summary of kind of how we came here. Started with a small addition. We now have a project in front of everybody here tonight for your consideration that addresses basically safety and space. You've heard those numbers and those phrases come out a lot tonight, but it's safety and space. So, Robin, or Lauren, throw the next slide up. All right, so our committee members, obviously, real quick, myself, Craig Rivest, Ed Rigney, Lance Trevelyan, Gary Petzold, and then our architectural firm. All right, next slide. Right now, folks, this is our current station. Initial station was built in 1964. Bottom square right there, about 3,200 square feet. We've had 2 additions over the years. 1980, the little addition up top for another bay, and then 2011, another small addition over on the left right there. Right now, our current station is about 5,000 square feet total, 5,000 square feet. Again, that's where we work out of right now. All right, next slide. A couple quick facts, just went back to town reports. 1964, when a current station was built, 757 houses. 2022, 1971. Calls for service, 67 in 1964, 538, 2022. Those numbers aren't any different now as far as current calls. We average 5 to 550. All right, next slide. Why we need a renovation? Safety and space. Big part of his fire apparatus today, like the ones we have, weren't designed for stations built 60 years ago. The space that we have right now is extremely difficult to get around, dangerous, there's no paths to get. We have to literally pull some trucks out even to get back into, say, the trunk and other compartments. It does not have adequate separation for decontamination. So when we come back from a call, there's basically one big area we have out there. It's been proven in the fire service with cancer and all sorts of other hazards out there that decontaminating and keeping yourself clean and your gear clean, separate from where the rest of the station will operate, is critical. Out of code compliance, HVAC, plumbing, ADA, and the list is endless. It is a myriad of non-compliant areas. And I said, apparatus bays are severely undersized for today's vehicles. All right, next slide. Sort of give you a perspective, when our station was built, that small picture over there red, that was the size of a vehicle, fire truck back then. Today you see like typical engine 1, engine 2. Over on the left is a modern fire engine. While likely adequate at the time of construction, our current station, it is not appropriate for current fire apparatus. Hopefully these kind of translate well to folks in the back. You see our truck right there. You open the door, it hits the gear. We actually have pool noodles on some of these things so the door can actually not smash into stuff. Bottom corner there, our tanker in the back, we have less than 2 feet. You can't even get by. Same thing on both sides of the truck right there. All right, next slide. Our bathroom, yeah, if anyone's had the opportunity to go through there, picture the worst rest stop you've ever seen on a highway, and this is worse. Again, we do have 2 bathrooms. The door, I mean, they're clearly not ADA compliant. It's a 2-foot door to get in there. All right, next slide. Our HVAC system, we have return air takes in the apparatus bay and in the meeting room. Totally not to code. Next slide. Our kitchen, I don't know if you can really call it a kitchen. Our one closet we have is actually bigger than our kitchen. Again, nowhere near adequate. You literally can't have 2 people in there. So, all right, next slide. So what's going on? So basically, our current station is right here, the 5,000 square foot station. What we're proposing and what we've come up with is a addition to the right of the station, which is north, and then also west in the back towards the highway department. Right now, we've got about 5,000 square feet. This ground level addition right here will add roughly another 5,000 square feet. This also now will have all the apparatus exiting on North Road. Just to give you perspective, here's North Road in here, 5 bays out front. All the apparatus comes out of North Road. Currently, we have the back area with one of our tankers coming out of there. That won't happen. All the vehicles will exit out of there. All right, next slide. Sort of the bigger idea. Current station on the left, like we talked about, proposed over here. All the bays exit North Road. We have a meeting training area right now. Right now, we have space for about 20 people. We can have upwards of 25 or 30 people in there, potentially. New training room will have room for 40 people. We actually have some administrative offices. Right now, when you walk in the station, this is the whole office area right there. Chief works out of there. Gene, our administrative assistant, works out of there. Day crew will be there. That's where the radios are. That's where the public comes in. This will give us an idea, a way to actually have things be separate and have, an inspections office, small office for the chief, small admin office. Decon, we have a room for decon, which you should have. And then we also have an area in the back for our gear. Gear is separate. All right, next slide. Same picture we just saw right there. Red is the hot area where we would come back where the equipment is, decon area. Green would be the area that we would have our training area in and where offices would be and where the public would be. All right, next slide. What will the project will achieve? Well, the big thing, it's going to allow safe entering and exiting around our fire apparatus. It's going to give us our decon area that we really need to have. Also, the project is going to give us capacity and space for at least, we figure, 20 to 30 years in the future. This project, the way the design came up with, we have a middle section of the station that will be unfinished. There's about roughly 1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet up there, roughly, of unfinished space. That will be used for storage right now and potential future needs of the station and of the town. What it'll also do, become ADA compliant. We're also adding a cistern tank. What a cistern tank is, it's a large underground storage tank for filling our trucks and also for firefighting. Reduce building maintenance and repair costs, certainly become more energy efficient. And the last part, which is, I think, a real important point, is volunteer retention and will also enhance new member applications. Right now, you go in the station, we've got gear on the ground. There is no spots. We've utilized every inch of that station. So, we have people have to climb over other people's gear to get to your gear. This will enable us to actually attract people, keep people wanting to come in. Because as I mentioned, we rely solely on volunteers in our call department after Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. So we always have people coming in. We've started a cadet program, which has been received well. But our position is we need to always be bringing people in. We fortunately aren't like other departments that have trouble. We are bringing people in. So we want to continue that. All right, next slide. Again, just a quick elevation right there of the new station. Again, looking at it if you're on North Road, as I said, that middle bay right there, unfinished upstairs. And like I said, we're going to the right there. All right, that's it. I'm good. I'm good. So, and then $8.3 million is what we came up with. Today's construction dollars was $7.9 million. Working with the architects, you know, we have to project, if everything went right, we would start in a year from now, an escalation of 4.6%, which is a norm right now that people are using, brings us up to our project total of 8.3. So that's, I know there was a lot of information here. I hope I was able to hit on the big points for.
Nope, you're doing it. So take your notes and don't go anywhere.
Nope.
All right. This is a big number. There's a lot of moving parts to it. That is why we allowed the time for the fire department to do the presentation, so you could get at least a reasonable sense of what they're trying to accomplish, and then at the same time set up any questions you may have with regard to the vote tonight. Are there any questions? I see one.
Eric Madison, 359 Summers Road. Mr. Moderator, can I address my comment, if you will, to the voting folks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I want to speak in favor of this article tonight, just by way of why I kind of feel a little bit of a person to speak to this. I spent 35 years as a career firefighter, the last 15 of which was chief of the department. Spent 5 years on the Massachusetts Board of Fire Prevention Regulations, and even today I continue to teach for the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy. What we ask these people to do in the facilities that we give them is absolutely atrocious. I've gone to the station to train with them, and we can't even train the whole department at one given time. There's not enough room in the station. They can't fit the apparatus in appropriately. There is absolutely no place for decontamination. Our folks are going home contaminated, bringing cancer-causing agents as a product of combustion to their families. We need to provide them with the proper facilities. These folks are willing to put it all on the line for us each and every day on a volunteer basis. The least that we can do is give them the facilities to do it. I urge you to pass this article. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Any more questions or comments? Gary.
Just a question for Mark, Gary Wayner, 53 Mill. Have you met with the abutter on the north side regarding the driveway?
No, we have not.
And does the dollars towards the station include the potential for walls, retaining walls?
Yeah, we have added into the budget proposal site work, removing the driveway, relocating the driveway that is to the north. Yes, we have provided for that in our.
But have not met with the abutter yet? Okay.
Joe Green, 21 Tall Pines Road, Hampden. Just a quick question. The $8.3 million, is debt service included in that $8.3 million on the borrowing of the money?
That might be more of a sort of a treasurer.
So, Dick, do you have a sense of this question? I mean, I have an answer, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to do it because you're way smarter than me. I'm never going to let this stuff go.
You know, he used to work for me when he was in college part-time. Turned out better than I thought. Okay, the $8.3 million is the construction cost. I was asked to do with the financial impact on here, so I got out a Ouija board, and I'm doing the best I can, but there are many, many variables. With a capital project like this, the construction's funded by short-term borrowing until the project is fully completed, with the town paying interest only. Once the project is finished, we go out for a 20-year bond. This would likely not be for 3 years. Based on a 20-year bond with level principal payments, an annual principal would be $415,000 a year. The bond market prefers level principal payments with decreasing interest payments each year, and that's the way the police department was structured, which was the last one we did. If we are lucky as we were with the police station and can borrow at the average 2.75% interest rate. That would be about $229,000 in the first year and dropping by $23,000 each year. It's more likely the rates will be a lot higher. We hit that right at the right moment. I would expect probably something along the lines of 5.5%. In that case, the interest would be $458,000 to start and drop about $46,000 each year. With these, I know there's a lot of numbers, but the last ones are what you care about. With these projections, annual payments should be between $644,000 and $873,000. Based on last year's numbers, each $150,000 causes a 1% increase in taxes. Given that, I'd project a tax increase somewhere between 4.3 and 5.9%. The average single-family home in 2025 paid $6,400 in taxes, so that increase would be between $275 and $375 a year, based on a guess.
That's fair. I mean, there's only so much you can do. Let me see that Ouija board. And yes, I did work for you. And it was actually probably one of the highlights of my life, if that says anything to you at all. We could do this all night. Another question. Come on up.
Tad Brown, 45 Meadowbrook. Can I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion that we take this vote on a secret ballot.
Okay. Well, it's all right. You've got the motion. Don't leave. Are there any more questions before we move to that, to the amendment, or to the request? It's not an amendment. I'm sorry. To the request. Yes, sir. Is it new?
I think so.
Okay. Let's give it a shot.
Please remind the audience that they're voting on a measure to put this question on a ballot. They're not voting to appropriate the funds tonight.
I was going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Look, everybody seems to want this job. Come on up. No, I'm teasing. I think it's very important, and I was going to, because I think it's that important. I've also let the fire department know I was going to do that. Do we have any other new questions? Okay. Before we entertain, I see someone coming. Is this going to be a new question, Dr. Bernstein?
No, it's going to be a quickie. Ken Bernstein, South Road. Why does it have to be a secret? The FBI isn't watching us.
Okay. Now, hold on. All right. So, before we talk about the secret ballot, everybody's made their comment. Let me just repeat again and see how you feel. This question requires a 2/3 to clear this room. Clearing this room is only half of what needs to be accomplished. This question will be on a ballot, which will require passage before the article will take effect. Do you still wish to proceed with a secret ballot?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion to go to a secret ballot. So let me explain this to you. We're prepared for this. You were all given, as you came in, yes, no cards. If we proceed to the secret ballot, we're going to set up for the count of the secret ballot. Now, we've got a motion. Do we have a second to go? Now I'm going to get to your point. I just wanted to let people know what they're in for. We've got a motion to go to a secret ballot. Do we have a second to go to the secret ballot? If there's no second, then we do not move forward. There is a second for the secret ballot. So we have a motion. We have a second to go to a secret ballot. Advisory committee, I typically ask for a recommendation here. Your thoughts on secret ballot?
We're having a quick consultation because this, we didn't anticipate this.
Okay, nope, fair enough. Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I had a question over here. Go.
Right. Advisory recommends favorable action on the motion for the secret ballot.
Okay. Now, we've got a motion. We've got a second. We did have a comment on the secret ballot, but again, in fairness, All questions typically, as a rule, except for the consent agenda, would require discussion to go to a secret ballot. Any questions or comments about the secret ballot before we take the vote? Seeing none, let's see if we can, it will require a majority vote to go to the secret ballot. If it passes, I will explain what is next. All those in favor of a secret ballot, please raise your hands. All those opposed to a secret ballot, please raise your hands. The secret ballot request fails. Now, we will proceed to the vote, and I'm just want to lay this out for you. Again, 2/3 tonight, then it has to go to the ballot for final approval, or for execution, if you will. Tonight is 2/3. We may take a count. We'll do whatever's necessary to have this clear. So let's start with this. If there's no more questions, no more discussion, this requires a 2/3 vote as it anticipates borrowing. All those in favor? Any opposed? The 2/3 is declared. You're all set. Thank you. Thank you. I want to just commend this town meeting body. This is not an easy topic, especially when borrowing and bonding is involved and the other discussion. I think we handled it extremely well. Article 20, Green Meadows School floor replacement. This is to see if we will raise and appropriate a sum of money for replacing floors at Green Meadows School. Do we have a motion? Go ahead. Hold on, before you do this.
Yep.
Could I please ask that those exiting the room, please keep your voices down. We need to continue with the meeting. I would encourage you to stay, but if you are leaving, please decorum for those who are still here. Go.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $35,000 to replace the flooring in 5 to 6 classrooms at Green Meadows Elementary School.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We do have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation on this request?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
You have an amendment. Okay, yeah, no, if you have an amendment, so there's the potential for amendment. Let's take the amendment discussion first, and then we'll go from there, and I'll explain to you exactly what triggers next. So we've had motion second, we've had the recommendation. You have an amendment?
Yes.
By all means.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we amend the article to no action.
So in essence, what you have here is now a motion to amend the main motion, and instead of appropriating or raising and appropriating money, this would be a vote for no action. Does this motion for no action have a second? It has a motion. We have a motion. We have a second. Now, this is to amend the main motion. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask the advisory committee if they have a recommendation on the motion to take no action. Then there'll be discussion on this motion. If the amended motion to take no action passes, that only changes the motion. We will then take a vote on that. If it fails, we will go back to the original motion. Does that all make sense? Okay. Hold on. Hold on one second. Do you guys have a recommendation?
Yes, advisory recommends negative action on the motion for no action.
Okay, so in essence, I want to make sure we keep this clear. You're recommending favorable to amend the motion to no action. You're in support of taking no action.
No. The opposite.
Okay, so you'd rather see the vote on the original number.
Correct.
Okay. So now we have to have the selectmen want to make a comment on the request for no action. Then we have to vote on whether or not we're going to adopt no action. Okay? All right, go.
Hey, John Flynn, North Road. Basically, this came to our board that as part of the capital request for upgrades at Green Meadows, the school department was going to spend $30,000 to do some of the floor work in the classrooms, which is certainly a laudable thing to do. We did mention to them that per the regional agreement, the town is responsible only for capital projects of $35,000 and more. And then it came back to us, oh, now it's going to be $35,000. And we were like, I'll speak colloquially here, you were good with 30, and now when it's our dollar, it's 35. So we just felt that, in good faith, we really can't support this. We certainly support them replacing the floors, which is a multi-year project. You're going to do 5 to 6 classrooms, okay? Keep it inside the budget and do 4 to 5 classrooms, and the following year, and the following year, and the following year. So.
Are there any questions on the motion to amend to no action? So in essence, again, just so we stay right on top of this, what we're going to be voting on is to adopt a motion to take no action. Any questions? Seeing none, the motion to adopt will take a majority vote. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, please raise your hands. Those opposed to adopting the amendment, the motion to amend carries. So we are now going to vote on a motion to take no action. This will require a majority vote. So a majority vote means nothing's going to happen this year and they go back to the drawing board. Is everybody clear? You have a question? It's a little tough to do it at this point because basically the original motion has now been eliminated. Okay? So all those in favor of taking no action, this requires a majority vote. Please raise your hands. Any opposed? The motion to take no action carries. All right. Article 21. Green Meadows School parking lot repairs and road extension. So this is a summary which you'll hear in the motion to repair and expand the parking lot. I believe it's a fire lane. Go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $35,000 to repair the parking lot and extend the fire road at Green Meadows Elementary School.
We have a motion. We have a second. Advisory?
Advisory recommends unfavorable action.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion? Yes, sir.
This includes a fire road?
Got to come on up.
I'm sorry.
Nope, it's okay.
This, Thad Clavette, 55 Highland. This is asking for money for a fire road?
My understanding it is to repair the parking lot and extend the fire road. Does the school committee have any comment? Or did we cover that? By all means, please.
Okay. And we talked to the fire department a few weeks ago, and they have no knowledge of needing a fire road. They can get back there perfectly fine. So I don't know why we're spending money on something that the fire department doesn't.
Okay, let's hold up on amendments. I have a sense of the reading of the room, so if you want to make the amendment, I see where you're going, so you want to make the amendment? Okay, so we have any other questions or discussion? The question is asked, expansion of the fire road and for a definition, a purpose. I mean, obviously, I think a fire road is somewhat self-explanatory. I'm not sure what the rationale, that's not a chide. That's, when you think fire road, you think fire road. But is there a rationale for doing this to begin with? Okay, could we get a comment from the fire department on that? The fire road expansion is for you folks to, in essence, get around the building. But I heard one comment that you were okay. I would kind of prefer to have the fire department tell us their thoughts. He outranks you. He goes first.
Glendale Road. I have no understanding of the fire road. We did not request it. The school committee didn't come to us and request an evaluation of it.
Okay. Your thought on the need, if you have one, as the chief?
If you provide access around the building, it's always a win-win situation. I'm not saying that, not to vote for it.
Okay.
If someone feels it's necessary, then all means, vote for it.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of this for the main reason is the school committee has not been able, in 3 separate meetings, to define what the scope of work is.
Okay.
There's no good explanation. They met with the advisory and the selectmen. They came to the advisory hearing, and then I'm hearing nothing new tonight. They're not telling us what they're doing with the money.
Okay. Any more comment, question, or concern? Yes, sir.
If I might just briefly, the reason advisory does not support the request is because it is an ill-defined proposal. We had asked the representatives from the school district specifically what it meant for parking lot repairs and extension of a fire road, and we never did get an explanation that warranted this type of an expenditure.
Okay. Motion, second, recommendation for negative action. We've had comment. Any other questions or comments? All said. This is a majority vote as it's simply raise and appropriate. Those in favor of the article, please raise your hands. Those opposed to the article, please raise your hands. The article fails. All right. Hold on before you do the next one. Nope, you can come up. You don't have to. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make you go up and down here. Article 22, Green Meadows School IT network switches replacement. This is for computer hardware upgrades at Green Meadows School. Could we please have the motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town raise and appropriate $92,500 to replace the switches in the IT network at Green Meadows Elementary School.
We have a motion, we have a second for $92,500. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Is there any discussion? Any questions? Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
The reason that you're seeing multiple capital requests coming from the school district is that the advisory committee in Hampden and the finance committee in Wilbraham both asked the school committee to bring capital requests to them in an orderly fashion so that we didn't get caught up in a emergent or ad hoc type of approach to them. So the reason you're seeing these is because we advisory requested that the school district bring these requests to us so that we can keep the properties up to par.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Any other questions? Any comment? This requires a majority vote. It is raised and appropriate. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Any opposed? The article passes. It is not a majority. It is not unanimous. Article 23, Minnechaug Regional High School add, replace split air conditioning units. This would be for our share of the cost to replace AC units at Minnechaug Regional High School. The motion, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $6,812 to pay a portion of the cost to add or replace split AC units at Minnechaug Regional High School.
We have a motion. We have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Does any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, Phil Snyder, Raymond Drive. I just want to, we're on Article 23, and beside the firehouse, we've spent almost $500,000 already, above and beyond the budget. So I'm just a little cautious going forward, that's all.
His question is, I'm thinking his comment is to the numbers, and if you guys have anything to insert, just keep us posted, but I think you would do that. Okay. All right. So let's get going back to it, and not to discount the comment of Mr. Schneider, but any more questions or comments about the AC units? This is a raise and appropriate, requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The warrant article passes. It is not unanimous. Article 24, Minnechaug Regional High School upgrade to the internal two-way radio repeater. This, my understanding, is the cost to upgrade the two-way radio system and improve communications with first responders within the building. The cost noted is our share. Motion, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $2,141 to pay a portion of the cost to upgrade the internal two-way radio repeater at Minnechaug Regional High School.
Do we have a second? The motion has been made and seconded. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Does the town meeting have any questions? Seeing none, this is a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Again, this article carries. It is not unanimous. Article 25, Minnetonka Regional High School upgrade to the camera system. Again, our share of cost to upgrade the security camera system, my understanding is to improve its detail.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $72,016 to pay a portion of the cost to upgrade the camera system at Minnetonka Regional High School.
We have a motion. We have a second. Advisory?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Okay, so we have the motion. We have the second. Are there questions? You'll need to come up. You're all set? Okay. Yes, sir.
What's the need of the camera system? Don't we have one now?
School, please address that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. So the camera system is 12 or 13 years old at this point. It's original to the building. There are a number of limitations to it. One is the amount of time it takes the data to cycle up. So there are many times when something would happen in a high school that administrators would want to get immediate information about who was in the hallway when it happened or who was in the cafeteria when it happened. It takes now approximately 15 minutes to get the data from the server up to a screen so that people can even know what happened, which in a school safety situation is an unacceptable delay. Also, camera technology has improved quite a bit in the many years since the cameras were first installed in the high school. A greater level of resolution would be helpful for us, especially when dealing with things in the parking lot. Currently, we can tell to the color and make of cars, but we can't see license plates. This new system would allow us to have that level of detail.
Is there an opportunity for grants, seeing its security in a high school? That's kind of a #1 priority with everyone.
We have been looking for grants for the past 3 years for this item. We haven't seen anything, even when the governor announced that there was going to be a great infusion of this prior governor, Charlie Baker, great infusion of money for school safety. That never really materialized.
Any other questions or comments? This requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, I thought you, okay.
Sorry. I just wanted to note that, I didn't grow up, of course, with cameras in every hallway in a surveillance situation, yet I think the schools were managed appropriately. To me, to raise nearly $500,000, well, let's just say a third, does the damage that we need to account for with these cameras actually warrant more than $370,000 investment into that? It seems like a sink for taxpayer money, at least. Just for cameras, especially when there is an existing system.
Okay. Fair enough. Does anybody want to address that? Or, I feel like it was more in the nature of a comment, but if you'd care to address it, hold on. I just want to see if they want to address it first. And then we'll start to get it moving a little bit.
I think I'll just add to my prior comments by mentioning another capability which this new system will allow us to do. And we're trying to go to the same standard throughout all of Wilbraham, which at some point will allow us, should the school committee decide and should the police department decide, to share information so that if we were ever in the situation where we had an active shooter within the building, we could allow our first responders to see what was happening before they got into the building. So that would potentially be a great benefit to anyone who's entering a situation like that.
Okay. Dr. Bernstein's going to make it next, then Thad, you're right behind him if you're still looking to come up.
With all respect to the last speaker, not this gentleman, but the other guy, contemplate how many firearms are in the homes of Hampden and Wilbraham residents. And when I'm much older than this guy, when he went to school, there was not the school shootings that there are today.
Fair enough. Thad, please. I think we're getting there.
Try to get it. My kids are out of school now, but I got 3 grandkids that'll be going into that school in the next several years. And I'd hate to think that, something happened over there, didn't, we denied these cameras and we can't find the bad guys in school. So that we probably need cameras. Hopefully they'll have facial recognition on the cameras and can sniff out drugs.
That said, Eric, you're going back to your seat, right? I wasn't sure. I almost precluded somebody, so I wasn't gonna, take that for granted. Any more questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion carries. The warrant question passes. It is not unanimous. Article 26, Minnetonka Regional High School purchase of a Kubota RTV. This would fund the town of Hampden share to purchase a rough terrain ATV. Motion, please.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $4,704 to pay a portion of the cost to purchase a Kubota RTV for Minnetonka Regional High School.
Do we have a second? We have the motion made. We have a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, this requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Ooh, okay, hold on. We're going to reload this thing. What's that in here too? We're going to need a count on this. Could I get, Eva, who do you have for counters? I just need two. Eva, who's count? Eiley and...
Oh, I don't know. Eileen and Gloria are out there.
All right. Yeah. Chief, could I ask you a favor? Could you get Eiley and Doria to come in? We need counters, please. We'll get through this fairly quickly. It's a majority vote, so. I was actually using it, raising both hands. Hello, ladies. All right. So why don't we do this? If you could go to this side, to the farthest end, and count this, and then if you could count these folks, and I'll get the ones on the end. Okay? So again, you're going to be counting the folks in this section. You'll get the folks in this section. I'll get the folks in the far end and on the stage. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Please keep them up just for a second. How many? How many do you have? 18 as well? Okay, now we're going to do the opposed. Again, I'll count the folks on the far end and the stage. You do the two sections. All those opposed, and please keep your hands up. Just check. The motion fails. It was, and the vote was 45-78. 45 in favor, 78 opposed. Could we have a motion for Article 27, lease amendment? So this is the selectmen. Lease amendment to the Hampden landfill solar. And this is to expand the current lease agreement to account for the actual area fenced in protection of the landfill cap at the town solar farm at the transfer station.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to amend the lease agreement between the town of Hampden and Hampden Landfill Solar LLC, known as Amoresco Incorporated, for 18 Cross Road, parcel IDs number 19-85-00 and 1986-00, to expand the leased area by approximately 1.6 acres as shown as on attachment A.
The motion has been made and seconded. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Are there any questions? Again, the understanding I have is that the fence installed. Joe. I can't tell. Connie, there you are. Joe, you got to slim down. You completely hid her. I only say that because I'm like in your camp. So, go.
I'd like to know how much more money this will raise in tax revenue per year.
So basically, this is the area just surrounding the panels. And when they originally proposed it, they went pretty tight to it. The part of the panels that border Cross Road, that lease area was going to be on the slope coming down.
Right.
And in consultation with DEP, et cetera, they felt it was a bad idea to put the fence on the slope because it wouldn't be stable going forward. So they need a little more room coming out. It's still inside the landfill parcel. It's just coming down a little bit.
I think your question is this going to raise any more revenue for the town?
Will it raise more revenue for the
there's no more
town
use
because
to the,
it's not
it
in
doesn't increase the use of the property.
There are no more solar panels going in.
Right, right.
Well, they're still using 1.6 acres.
Of the
Yeah, go
fifth of the approximately
of the
Kelly,
town's
30
land.
acres. So pretty much the, I'll say roughly 30 acres that make up the landfill parcels for the solar project. They're circling the thing, and they're using that area there. The land that they're putting the fence on was unusable. You're quite aware of what looks from Cross Road to the panels. They have, Kelly, I mean, I'll throw it right to the assessor. Would there have been any increase in value for them picking up that area? No, because there was no other use to that area.
But I think our question, I think more the point you hit it, was that this was done in consultation with DEP, correct?
DEP, and they got approved by Concom as well.
So there is absolutely no other use for that land, Kelly?
No.
Okay.
So basically, we are still getting roughly $145,000 a year
Right.
for the panels on that
I'm
property.
just trying to squeeze a few more dollars out.
I like the way you think.
Thank you.
So there was a fair amount of back and forth, and the part you didn't hear was a comment from the assessors about the change in value of the land for the expansion of the fence. And I just, again, to note, this was done, my understanding is, as moderator, that this was done in consultation with DEP in protecting the existing cap that's underneath the original landfill. So that was the reason, Connie, and I think that we got all the questions. Is anybody confused or any other comments or concerns? This is in as much as this is a land question, it requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? We'll declare the 2/3. Article 28, purchase of conservation property, North Road. This would allow the way the moderator has this presented, this would allow the select board to execute the purchase of land with funding already approved. Who's going to do the motion on this? Somebody from Minnetonka? Sherry, come on up.
Sherry Himmelstein, South Road. I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to acquire by purchase or otherwise using previously appropriated community preservation funds the approximate 2.32-acre parcel on North Road, Hampden, Massachusetts, that is described in the article for a purchase price not to exceed $95,000, said property to be managed and controlled by the Conservation Commission of the Town of Hampden in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 8C for conservation and passive recreation purposes.
Does the motion have a second? I hear the second. We have a motion and a second. Does the advisory committee have a recommendation?
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Are there any questions? Do you want to hear anything about this? Again, now this is land acquisition. It's funds previously allocated, but inasmuch as it's allowing the selectmen to go through the process of taking or buying the property, it will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The 2/3 is declared. Article 29, Community Preservation Committee. There are two parts to this. The first one, this is now, keeping in mind, these are CPA funds. These are funds that have already been designated and restricted for CPA use. And again, now that these will be the CPA making a request of us to allocate or to use those funds for a specific purpose. Could I get the first motion, please?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate $22,000 from the Community Preservation Fund for the purchase of shade structures for the spray park at Memorial Park.
We have a motion and a second for $22,000 for purchase of shade equipment at the spray park. Recommendation?
We recommend favorable action.
Any questions? Yeah, and they went for 22, so as long as they're under, it's okay. They couldn't exceed the posted. Okay? All right. With no more questions, this is a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries, and this one is unanimous. The second one, again, is a request for use of previously designated and restricted CPA funds. Could we have the motion?
Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate $27,500 from the Community Preservation Fund to design, engineer, and construct a new trailhead and parking area on the approximate 2.32-acre parcel on North Road, Hampden, Massachusetts, identified in Article 28 of this warrant.
We have the motion. Do we have a second? I thought I heard one. We did. All right, we have a motion. We have a second. How do you feel about it?
Advisory is recommending favorable action.
Any questions? Seeing none, this is a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? It looks as though we have a majority. We have a unanimous. The next two are zoning bylaws. The first one, Article 30, battery energy storage systems. The moderator's understanding is to add to the current zoning requirements that any of those petitioning the town to build an energy storage facility system, and that this bylaw information will be voted on the town meeting. By the town meeting tonight, this information has been made available both via the website and in handouts tonight as you entered the building. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town zoning bylaws be amended to regulate battery energy storage systems using the changes recommended by the planning board after public hearing, where printed copies of those changes have been distributed to this town meeting.
The motion is made and seconded. This time, I believe we bypassed advisory and we get a planning board recommendation. Does the planning board have a recommendation?
We recommend favorable action.
Planning board recommends favorable action to their own article. This is to regulate battery storage. It is a, what's that? I want to ask them. You know what? That's the great thing. We don't have a finance committee, by the way. We have an advisory committee, and they do make a recommendation.
For the record, we do recommend favorable action on this.
I know you, see? There you go.
Mr. Moderator, we have a document we'd like to add to the record.
Please, you should read. I think the document should be read.
Okay, it's not the bylaw, but it is the cover letter that is going to go with the submission of this bylaw to the Attorney General.
Okay. Was it handed out to the voters as well as the rest of the document? I didn't see everything that was on the table.
It was not.
All right. I'm a little bit hamstrung here. In essence, the voters won't know what they're voting on. I think it's important that it be read and not just simply attached to the record. Yeah. Okay, so my concern is still the voters haven't seen it.
Right, but if she reads it, they will have heard it.
Oh, that's all I'm looking for.
Oh, I'm sorry, I might not have been clear. I plan to read it, yes.
Oh, no, okay, we're doing good.
It is 3 pages. Do you want me to read it here?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize for having my back to the majority of you. The purpose of this bylaw is to provide for the construction and operation of a battery energy storage system and to provide standards for the placement, design, construction, monitoring, modification, and removal of energy storage systems that address public health, welfare and safety, protection of the town aquifer, and both the public and private drinking water supply, protection of endangered species, minimization of impacts on scenic, natural, and historic resources of the town of Hampden, and provision of adequate financial assurance for decommissioning. The importance of promulgating reasonable bylaws regulating battery energy storage systems in the town of Hampden cannot be underestimated. The Hampden Master Plan vision states, quote, Hampden will balance growth and preservation, promote environmental protection, historic preservation, and enhance resources for future generations. The town's unique landscape contributes to a tapestry of health, natural systems, including open fields, wetlands, waterways, ponds, and forested mountains, end quote. The proposed battery energy storage system bylaw addresses and recognizes the need to balance growth with preservation and protection of the health, welfare, and safety of residents and the natural environment of the town of Hampden. A recent published research paper states, quote, as the use of lithium-ion batteries is spreading, incidents in large energy storage systems, stationary storage containers, et cetera, or in large-scale cell and battery storages, often leading to fire, are occurring on a regular basis. Water remains one of the most efficient fire extinguishing agents for tackling such battery incidents, and large quantities are usually necessary. Since batteries contain various potential health components, metals, and other oxides or salt solvents, etc., the thermal runaway induced battery incidents are accompanied by complex and potentially multi-stage fume emissions containing both gas and particles. The potential impact of fire runoff waters on the environment should be considered and assessed carefully. It highlights that waters used for firefighting containing many metals, including nickel, manganese, cobalt, lithium, and aluminum, mixed with other carbonaceous species, soot and tar balls, and sometimes undecomposed solvents used in the electrolyte. The source on that is the Assessment of Runoff Waters Resulting from Lithium-Ion Firefighting Operations, published MDI March 31st, 2024. Every home, business, government, building, and school in Hampden relies on public or private wells for potable water. The Hampden Master Plan states, quote, the protection of water resources is vital in Hampden as a town that values the health of its environmental assets and relies on private wells for its municipal water supply. Monitoring and protecting water resources is critical to ensure safe and sustainable water supply, preserve visual and recreational amenities, and protect wildlife habitat, end quote. Groundwater is an essential resource in Hampden, as residents rely mostly exclusively on private well systems, many of which draw water from aquifers. Protecting groundwater quality and recharge is critical to ensuring a reliable drinking water supply for residents without access to a municipal system. Therefore, in the interest of public health, reasonable bylaws designated to protect the water is essential. Hampden, as a community of less than 5,000, has a small on-call fire department. There is no adequate supply of water available that could provide the large amount of water needed to combat or protect abutting properties in the event of a thermal event. The use of chemical fire extinguishing material would only add to the danger of contaminating surrounding wells. Currently, the town is spending $3.5 million to remedy a PFAS problem in the wells of several homes in town. The Electric Power Research Institute, in a March 2020 report entitled Battery Fire Water Composition and Risk Assessment, stated, quote, questions exist as to whether firewater could become contaminated with hazardous materials such as lithium, cobalt, organic electrolytes, or solubilized organics released to the gas phase that leach or are entrained from the battery systems during suppression and subsequently released to soil, surface water, and groundwaters. If this transfer of materials occurs, there is risk of exposure to personnel and environment. Thus, battery storage system developers, owners, and operators, as well as first responders, must have robust information with which to propose mitigation practices. The implementation of bylaws addressing this potential are necessary to protect public health and safety. Due to a small fire department and lack of municipal fire hydrants and adequate water supplies not readily available for containing a thermal battery fire from spreading to a butter's property, homes, businesses, and the many acres of forested land and protected conservation land in Hampden. Therefore, appropriate bylaws designed to protect and/or mitigate the potential damage to those areas due to a battery fire is necessary. 76% of Hampden's land is classified as forested. Hampden's forested land serves as an important component of the Commonwealth's Forests as Climate Solutions Initiative, sourced January 2024 Commonwealth of Mass Report of the Climate Forestry Committee Recommendations for Climate-Oriented Forest Management Guidelines, supporting efforts to reduce land conversion and increasing permanent land conservation. The Commonwealth's recommendation include enlarging forest reserves, applying practices for maintaining carbon stocks when managed actively, and implementing passive management strategies to realize older forests and increase carbon stocks. Therefore, bylaws that contribute to the protection and management of Hampden's forested areas are needed to protect and mitigate any potential damage to these forested areas. 15% of Hampden's land is permanently protected by conservation restrictions or Article 97, including a 369-acre Audubon Wildlife Sanctuary and 273 acres on Minnetonka Mountain. Hampden also has 14 outstanding hiking trails that are a draw for town residents and visitors, providing opportunities for hiking, running, photography, dog walking, biking, wildlife viewing, and more. Ensuring those areas remain safe and aesthetically appealing to visitors is important to Hampden's character and economy. Hampden is home to diverse vegetation and wildlife that thrive in the town's many natural habitats. Hampden's rich habitat areas are critical not only for the town, but for the state, home to several Massachusetts Endangered Species Act-listed species, including the eastern worm snake, eastern spadefoot, blue spotted salamander, eastern box turtle, wood turtle, climbing fern, and bristly buttercup. The town has several core habitat and critical landscape areas as defined by the state's biomap tool, including vernal pools, aquatic core habitats, and priority protection areas. See attached map of NHESP estimated habitats of rare species. Hampden currently has 8 functioning solar facilities on 567.46 acres of land. It is important to note that given Hampden's topography, wetlands, open fields, and rural character, bylaws must give due consideration to protecting abutters' property values by minimization of noise and preserving scenic views of abutters.
Great job.
Thanks.
I know that seems like a lot extra, and unfortunately, sometimes it's like drinking water from a fire hose. But the reality is this report is going to be submitted to the Attorney General in support of the bylaw that we're asking you to vote on, and you haven't seen it. So therefore, it needs to be part of the record in order for the Attorney General to render a fair opinion. So I appreciate your patience. And you did a great job. Thank you so much. Now, that said, are there any questions? Thad, come on up.
Thad Clavette, 55 Highland Circle. I heard the bylaw, but I didn't hear anywhere in there that said that I could or couldn't put a battery storage unit in.
No, so that wasn't, my understanding of it is that what she read is not the bylaw. That is simply the report that was drafted that generated the need for the bylaw.
So are we going to hear the bylaw before we vote?
The bylaw has already been given to everyone, and it was on the website. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, I think I'm going to sit up front next time. Eric Madison, Summers Road. Is there anything in the bylaw that will restrict battery storage for single-family residents? Thank you.
So
we got to do it this way.
I'll make it as clear as possible. So there are 4 tiers of battery energy storage systems. So tier 1 being a smaller scale. Let me see.
I think it might be easier, just make it simple on yourself, just to simply yes or no to whether it's going to his question as opposed to going through the whole thing.
Smaller tiers are permitted on residences. The first tier, which is smaller kilowatt hours, are permitted on in R4, R6, and multi-dish.
He answered his question. He's already going back.
Awesome.
I thought I'd save you having to do that whole thing. Any other questions? This is, oh, somebody's coming up.
Famida Bashar, 23 Walnut Road. I'm sorry, I don't understand what we are voting for.
So the issue here is to add to the town's current existing zoning bylaws regulation with regard to the construction of battery storage facilities, typically associated with solar farms or the like. So this
we
is,
have already decided that we are putting in a battery storage
nope,
system?
I'm going to try and answer this, but I'm going to let you go. This is if someone were to petition the town to establish or build a battery storage system, these would be the regulations they would be required to meet in order to construct such a facility. So we're out in front of it.
But
What's that? Go ahead. Yep, please.
So I think it's really important to understand that this is already a law in Massachusetts that these 4 tiers are permitted in this state. What this gives us is an opportunity to have a little more restriction given the unique situation of our town, which I outlined in the letter. So in Massachusetts, these storage systems are already permitted. If this is not voted and sent to the Attorney General, we have 0 protection and they just follow the state statutes.
so just to be clear, we cannot, it's not going to come up in a town meeting and we cannot vote on a yes, no. It will just happen.
So, yeah, what you're voting on is to accept the change to the zoning, and then going forward, if someone petitions the town to establish such a facility, they must go through the planning board to get approval using this bylaw.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Make sense? All right. Are you coming this way? Let's have, if there's no more, we'll make this the last one and move on.
Okay. I'm Pat Cody, Colony Drive in Hampden, and I'm wondering, is this automatically approved by the state? If somebody comes and wants to do battery storage in it, does the town have the ability to deny it? No.
So no, that's correct. The state sets the regulation. If we don't set our own zoning bylaws surrounding it to give a little more restriction based on our town, they just follow the state statutes and they don't come through the planning board whatsoever. So
You got to, hold on. Before you answer, they need to hear Pat's question.
Can they override our zoning? I mean, if we were to deny something, could they override that?
So just like with any special permit application, they can certainly take it to court and appeal it. However, this follows the state statute and will be sent to the Attorney General if this is, right, if this is approved by the Attorney General. I don't know that they would have much appeal, but I'm not a lawyer, so yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Yes, sir, something new?
John Quackenbush, Greenleaf Drive. Just a question about the Tier 1 systems. Are the sound requirements, do those apply to Tier 1 systems as well? Because I don't see anything in here. The required continuous monitoring and then the sound studies before installation? Yeah? Okay.
You're saying it would apply, John? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi. Excuse me, Ed Lamoureux, Glendale Road. I just would add that the state, in what we call the new climate law, which passed in November of last year, has permitting regulations in it. And there's 2 different categories for battery storage. One of them, of course, is if it's a smaller project. I forget what the cutoff is, but it's under 25 megawatt hours. At the Hampden dump, for example, that would be a larger project. They have rules in them, and in the state has done quite a bit to define the permitting rules. Now, the towns have, where you have a small town like this, where it goes through a number of commissions, or environmental commission, zoning board, et cetera, you have the ability to petition the Supreme Judicial Court. So there is a remedy for the town. Larger projects like the dump, where we have that one there, or others that could come to the fore here, there's a new body, the Energy Facility Siting Board, that the state has established for larger projects. You also, the town, for funding, there's funding for intervenor status for the town. So you're not like totally boxed out and the state is going to ramrod you. So also for the larger projects, the town has remedy to the Supreme Judicial Court. So in my mind, I think they have to have a little faith in what the state has done, and we do need something on the books for this. We do need something on the books. So I just consider that in the overall decision.
Okay. Are we set to go to the vote? It appears so. This is a change or an addition to the current zoning bylaws. It will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The 2/3 is declared. Article 31, accessory dwelling units. My understanding of this is that this is a new zoning bylaw which allows us to regulate residential accessory dwellings on the same parcel and will keep us in harmony with state requirements for the same. The bylaw, the information to be voted was, again, available tonight for review, and it is part of the planning board process. Do we have a motion for this?
Yes, Dave Demers, Glendale Road. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw of the town to replace its current accessory dwelling unit bylaw with one that is compliant with recent changes to the state law to provide special zoning protections for accessory dwelling units, or to take any other action relative thereto. Just want to say real quick, we're just
hold on, before you go to that, we need a second to the motion, and then we have to have some recommendations. We've got, yes, sir. Let me go back to it. You did. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Thank you, Dick. I was waiting, and I didn't catch the words I move.
I said Article 31, then I said to see.
It's the I move.
Oh, I don't have that one. I move that the town zoning bylaws be amended to change the regulation of accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, to using changes recommended by the planning board after public hearing, where printed copies of those changes have been distributed to this town meeting.
It's the motion. We have a second. Advisory recommendation.
Advisory recommends favorable action.
Planning board recommendation.
Planning board recommends.
Favorable action.
Favorable action.
Now, do you have something you want to, now would be the time to.
All right, I just want, all we're doing is we're amending our bylaws that are approved from last year to comply with the Massachusetts law. That's all we did in this one, is we just updated it to make sure it's in line with Massachusetts.
Okay, that was my understanding. The only part I had is I thought it was new, but it's an amendment to the current ones to keep us in harmony with the state, as we discussed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Oh, there is a question. Gary.
Gary Weiner, 53 Mill Road. Just a comment here. If you bump into your state legislators in the supermarket, give them an earful about this ADU. We really don't have a choice in accepting it. But as a quick example, if I've got 30 acres here in Hampden and I can build 20 houses on that under the subdivision control law, I can now build 40 houses. And the legislators, when they pushed this through, had the idea that they were all going to be granny flats, that our elderly relatives like me would give my house to my children, and I'd build a 900 square foot granny flat. But the reality is, the way they wrote the law, you can be the owner, but you can rent both of those houses out and not be there for the year. I noticed in the bylaw that it can't be short-term rental under 31 days, but that doesn't preclude me from taking my 2 homes that I've got and renting them out. So again, we really don't have much choice with this bylaw that's going through, but if you bump into your legislators, give them a kick, because it could negatively affect this town dramatically in a couple areas if you think about the open space that we have.
Anything more? Okay, so this is an amendment to the current zoning bylaws. It requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is. Yeah, you want to let me finish this one, or do you want to say, you had something on this? No, I just want to say one thing before your next start. Your timing's incredible. The 2/3 is declared, and it was unanimous. So the article passes. You have, if you go.
I didn't get a chance to say this before because we had so much going on. Unfortunately, we lost half our crowd, but I want to call out Craig. Craig has been a valuable member of the select board. Heck, he came on when we were just the board of selectmen, and now he's a select board member. And we're really going to miss him. And I think the town does owe him a thank for stepping up and just, being the new guy and being schooled by Don at every meeting. I mean, Don called him Greg for the first year and just still does? Okay, great. But we'd like to give Greg a big round of applause for being selected.
Well done, and thank you. Just waiting to see if John has another one before I get started on the next one. I think we're ready. The last few articles are financial transfers. Article 32, Advisory Committee Reserve Fund. The reserve fund is under the control of the advisory committee. The fund is used to pay for extraordinary and or unforeseen expenses. And it is your motion to make.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $25,000 for the Advisory Committee Reserve Fund.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second to transfer $25,000 into the reserve fund. Any questions? This is a transfer in. It requires a majority vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. It is unanimous. Article 33, General Stabilization Fund. To see, and this is our rainy day fund, for lack of a better term. This is to see if we are going to put any money into our savings or rainy day fund. Advisory, your motion.
I move that the town vote to take no action on this article.
Could I have a second? Second. We have a motion made to take no action. We have a second. How do you feel about your article?
We think it's a good idea.
Love when you make them easy. This requires a majority vote to take no action. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is unanimous. We have one more. Before I let you go, I tend to be a little bit amicable. I try to be humble and make this fun and create an environment that we can all enjoy. I recognize, like anybody else, that I make mistakes, and I sincerely mean what I'm about to say. I can't thank Dick enough. I can't thank the judge enough, and I can't thank all of those around me who put in such a huge effort to make this a success and make this work for all of us. And it actually is why this is the best form of government. It is supposed to be important. It means a lot to all of us, but it's okay that it's fun and we enjoy it. That said, let's do the last one.
To take no action on this article.
Motion has been made and seconded to take no action on reducing the tax rate for the current year. This requires a majority vote for no action. All those in favor? Any opposed? It is not unanimous, but the motion carries. Have a great night. I motion to adjourn.
Well, I'd just like to thank Superintendent Provost for being here this evening and staying for the entire evening. Thank you.
I'm not going to get to do this any other way. Thank you so much for coming.